In this example, we're asked to find the center and the radius of this circle and then write the equation in standard form. So, looking at what they have given us here as this picture, we can read the center straight off of their graph here, their drawing, because they have told us that our center here is this point 2, 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in as the point. And then if you'll remember, the center is special because it's the point h, k. So I'm going to go ahead and write that above there too, just so I can keep track of everything. Now, as far as the radius is the distance from any point on the outside of the circle to the center. Now, we could, especially in this one, we could just look at that and say, well, it's this many units. But I want to go through and do it the long way so that if it were any two that weren't in such a nice spot, that you'd still be able to find the radius. Alright, so for our radius formula, if you'll remember, the radius is the distance. So the distance would equal the square root of, and that is x2 minus x1 quantity squared, plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared. Okay, so in order for me to use that formula nicely, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and put x1, y1 and x2, y2 right above each one of those coordinates in your points. Then, once you've done that, it's just a matter of plugging in the correct numbers in that formula. So d would equal the square root of x2 minus x1 would be 2 minus 0. So we'd have 2 minus 0 quantity squared plus the y2 minus y1 would be 1 minus 1 quantity squared. So that would equal the square root of 2 minus 0 is 2 squared plus 1 minus 1 is 0 squared. Alright, so we have the square root of 2 squared, which is 4. 0 squared is 0, so we don't even have to worry about that. And the square root of 4 is 2. So that tells us that our radius there is 2 units. And again, with this being at an x value of 0 and this one being at an x value of 2, and because they're in a straight horizontal line, we could have just looked at that and said, well, those are 2 units away from each other. But especially if you have one that's more diagonal, not near as easy, so you'll probably want to go through and use your distance formula. Alright, now the last thing we need to do here is to identify our standard form. Well, remember that your standard form looks like x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So if that's true, then we should be able to replace the h and the k with the 2 and the 1, and we should be able to replace the r with 2. So that tells us that we'll have x minus the h value is 2 squared plus y minus the k value is 1 squared equals r squared. Well, if r is 2, 2 squared is 4. So this would be the standard form of that circle's equation.